You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Getting ready to start recording this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, and I pretty regularly have like a therapy baseball. Like I'll just have a baseball in my hand while we're recording, and as I was getting set to count down, I dropped it on the floor and it delayed us like a whole 4 seconds on this week's episode. I'm very sorry, Sam. I know you adhere to a strict timeline, a strict regimen. I threw it off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, as we record this starting at 1:19 when we set a record time of 1 o'clock.
All right, that's fair. That's a fair point. Well, welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. He is Sam Dykstra. My name is Tyler Maughan. Just the two of us this week. A road trip for Ben Hill and Josh Jackson. I am so jealous of anybody who gets to hang out with Josh Jackson at a minor league ballpark. It has been far too long since I've gotten to do that. But those two guys are actually in one of my old stomping grounds. They're in Altoona, Pennsylvania this week, and checking out Awful Night at the home of the Altoona Curve this week. Yeah, just the two of us. It's a light cast on the show.
A little bit. I mean, we might be hearing from them later. There might be a segment in which, maybe the shoe is on the other foot and Josh is finding something in Ben's car.
Yeah, that could be.
In a similar way that you found random stuff in my car, some of which I didn't even know was back there. So
that's why I'm never inviting you guys out here, because I don't want to know what you dig up in my car.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't want to deal with it.
Payback would be swift and just.
The retribution would be brutal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they spent multiple hours heading west from New York City. And in Josh's case, who came multiple hours just to get here to New York from Maine, and then they went west for just an awful experience with the Altoona Curve.
Yeah.
And I say that very winkingly for anybody listening to this on audio who can't pick up my tone. Awful night. It sounds like it was an absolute blast.
Awful night. Wink, wink.
One of the things they did was, and they can explain this later. I don't want to trample too much on what they're going to say, but one of the pictures they posted was of a card that they were giving out of like, oh, we ran out of high fives. You know how like sometimes they'll run out of bobbleheads or they'll run out of an item and oh, sorry, come back and we'll give you this item. But the thing that was the kicker for me was like, come back to our game on Monday
and we'll give you a high five.
There are no games.
Oh yeah, there are no games on Monday. Yeah, man, that is awful, one might say.
That's got to be so much fun to plan.
Yeah, that would be
the
pretty
ways
great.
In which you could just lean into your worst experiences working in a minor league clubhouse. That
would be pretty fun.
Yeah, the brainstorming groups must just be absolutely insane.
Well, we will hear from Ben and Josh coming up here in a little bit as we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. I went out and saw a minor league baseball team yesterday. I saw the Colorado Rockies lose 20-1 to the Toronto Blue Jays. That was something fun. And the baseball calendar keeps ticking along. I'm headed to Durham, North Carolina tomorrow. Home Run Derby X this weekend at the home of the Durham Bulls. I'm so excited to be back at the DBAP. I have not been to the DBAP in 10 years. I think the only time that I went to the DBAP was 2015. I've been in that vicinity, but I haven't been to a game there. Yeah, Sam's got all kinds of, we're in post-deadline time, so updated lists and everything coming from Sam's direction, and that's sort of where we're going to kick things off. Sam put together a piece this week on storylines to follow for prospects now that we are post-trade deadline and moving toward the end of the regular season. This is an interesting time of the year, Sam, because when you come out of the deadline A lot of prospects, I would imagine, are sort of breathing sighs of relief that they didn't get traded. A lot of prospects are getting adapted to new organizations, and a lot of prospects are changing locations. We've got promotions, we've got changes all across the minor league baseball landscape. First, give us an overview of some of the storylines to watch, and then we're going to dive in specifically to promotions this week, which were a big topic of conversation.
Yeah, we'll start there. And the reason why you're seeing some big promotions this week is in part because of the deadline. The deadline is passed. You know exactly where everybody is going to be in your organization the rest of the way. But we're also after the signing deadline. So all these teams now have a better understanding of who is in their system, who they acquired through the draft, what the positional depth chart looks like. And then unfortunately, that means you're going to have to make some cuts, right? Like you bring guys in, that means you have to move guys out. Normally, these are more veteran types, guys who haven't cracked above a certain level. It just doesn't seem like it's working. But if you take those out from like high A, double A, that's going to open up some spots for your younger players that will need to be pushed. You're not going to do that just for the sake of filling a role. But in some cases, that opens up some opportunities. So that's why we saw already this week five big promotions from our top 100. That kind of figures out the timing of it. And again, we're in this kind of home stretch now, right? Like we only have about a month left of single A and high A baseball, about 5 weeks left of double A baseball, and about 6 weeks left of triple A baseball. So now's the time you're like, oh, we can send these guys to maybe where they'll open 2026, but at least they got a little bit of time there. It's a small sample size, but it's enough to get their feet wet.
So, with promotions and guys changing locations, you had a look at a handful of names that really stuck out to you. Let's start at the high A level, and you can go through, sort of level by level. But two guys who stood out to you moving up to high A: Jesus Made and Luis Pena, who are at that level now.
Yeah, those are the two top prospects in the Brewers system. Both of those guys were pushed aggressively to Single A Carolina to begin the year. Obviously, they came from the Dominican Summer League last year, skipped over the Arizona complex completely. We heard in the offseason that that was a potential thing that could happen with Made. Certainly, he's somebody who already pushed his way onto the top 100. Now he sits there at number 7. Spoiler alert: he might climb a little bit higher when we update the top 100 next week. But just elite bat speed. He's a switch hitter, can play shortstop, can play third base, has a decent arm, or strong arm, I should say, above average runner. All the tools are there for him. We'll figure out where he's going to land defensively as he ages, but he's still only 18 years old. So that wasn't a huge shock to see him open up at Carolina. Luis Pena, a little bit more. He's faster. He's got plus speed, and he's moving faster as the years gone on as well. Another 55 grade arm. I think what surprised most people is that his power has increased this year. But he's still somebody who's going to be 18 until November. I mean, he's been age 18 all season long. Had better numbers than Made in the DSL last year. Has had better numbers this year at Single A Carolina. Both of those guys moved together, and the Brewers have said this is a goal we had, that both of them were going to be good, that we could move them together, that they have somebody to lean on. When you are an 18-year-old in a new place, my first thought always goes to this, and I've talked to farm directors about this as well and other sources. When you are sending somebody that young off the complex, what do they do for groceries? Like you're essentially a high school senior who is
Yeah,
now living on their own.
yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that work. And now they've done that for the last few months. Now it's in a whole nother place. They have to go from Carolina, from Zebulon to Appleton, Wisconsin. To their credit, the Brewers have said one great thing about moving these guys to high A, and they said this in Adam McCalvy's newsletter. That's what I'm quoting mostly from here, is the Wisconsin facility standards are much better. Carolina, the Mudcats, God bless them, as much as we love them as a minor league stalwart, they are moving next year to a new place and getting them in Wisconsin, better facilities there, but also closer to Milwaukee. So these guys who they hope will be in Milwaukee for a very long time get to understand what it's like to play up there. So there's a lot of advantages there, but I think the big thing is just getting each of these guys challenged before the end of the year. If the results aren't there, then that's okay. That's fine. Now they understand it. Now they know what to work on during their offseason prep. But that first game with the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, Jesus Made, triples, Luis Pena, homers in his first at bat. Every indication is there that these guys are going to keep on trucking.
So, moving up to the high A level at this late stage in the season, obviously is one of those sort of propulsion moments, I think, for prospects where you go into 2026. And if you're a young guy, you're a top young prospect, you're a teenager who is getting that jump, you go into 2026 and think, okay, my timeline is probably accelerated. Moving up to double A might even be more so that way. And a couple of interesting names in the Mariner system, Colt Emerson and Urangelo Senja moving up to double A. Senja, of course, dazzling throughout with what he does as a switch pitcher, the appearance in the futures game and everything else. The Mariners, adding more pitching in the draft this year. They're making a postseason push, made big moves at the trade deadline, but a big promotion for those two guys.
Yeah, Emerson's the top prospect in the Mariner system. So that's the one that immediately stands out to me. Only 20 years old, somebody who we've long thought could have like a potential plus hit tool. Playing in Everett this year, 281 average, 388 OBP, 453 slugging. I mean, it's not like, oh my gosh, look at this, but also those are solid numbers across the board for a 20-year-old playing at high A. Actually, he spent most of the year at 19 years old. He just turned 20 on July 20th. So time to get him a new challenge at double A. I think one thing I want to say here is that people used to think the biggest jump in the minors was from high A to double A. I actually think now it's from rookie ball to single A
Yeah,
because there is no short season.
there's no short season anymore.
You have a lot of guys who are probably too good for the complex leagues who should have opened up in the old Northwest League, for example. Uh, but they dominate the complex league. Then you send them to full season ball. That's a stark jump. You're going to be facing guys who were drafted out of college a year ago at single A. It's a rude awakening. So sometimes when you see that's just an aside I bring up here because normally when we talk about the jump from high A to double A, it used to be, well, this is the biggest in the minors. You're seeing guys at double A who may have been in the major leagues. They're usually older. Double A is where you're going to see a glut of top prospects because they've proven themselves and they are close to the majors at the same time. We'll see how it goes for Colt Emerson, but I trust that hit tool. I wouldn't be surprised if he does really well there at the end of the year. And then Senja, again, somebody who has a lot of intrigue across the industry as somebody who can switch pitch. The numbers at Everett don't extremely pop off. 4.58 ERA, 83 strikeouts, and 74 and two-thirds innings. But it's time to see how this stuff works at the double A level. I don't know if they're going to do this year. I still think the time is coming. We're closing in on this. That it might be time to give up the switch pitching. The stuff from the right-handed side is just too good. Like train that as much as you can. Maybe that's a discussion they have in the offseason. Maybe this is kind of the last chance saloon. Like let's see how the lefty stuff works at in the Texas League. And if it's not up to snuff, let's go into a full offseason just working out the right side. Because that fastball is really good from the right side. The breaking stuff is going to work there too. It's an above average slider. As cool as it is to like have that in your back pocket, I just think he has an upside of like a potential number three as just a righty only. So let's just do that. I think that's maybe a discussion the Mariners have in the offseason.
Okay, Sam, at the AAA level, the former TCU Horned Frog, the 50th overall pick in the 2024 draft, Peyton Tolley, has been bumped from AA Portland to AAA Worcester in the Boston Red Sox system. Interesting guy. He was a two-way player when he started his college career at Wichita State, struggled at the plate, went to the mound, and was a stud once he joined TCU in 2024, was Big 12 Conference Pitcher of the Year, and then jumps into the Red Sox system. And so far this year, first pro season, this will be his third level. He started with high A Greenville, then he was at Portland, and after in 6 starts putting up a 1.67 ERA for the Sea Dogs, he's up at AAA and knocking on the door of the big leagues.
Yeah, there was a clip going around this week. You mentioned him at TCU, which just got a lot of people in the New England area very fired up if they hadn't seen it yet. It was him, I'm assuming, striking out a batter for the final out of the inning, but getting out of the inning and just pointing to his shirt, his jersey that said frogs, and him underlining it with his hand. And it's just like, can you imagine him doing that with Red Sox across his chest or Woo Sox in this case?
I thought people were just very excited about the frogs thing. I thought people were like,
I think that's part
horned
of it.
frogs, interesting animals. Woo!
Yeah, that was another thing people were saying. Like maybe the dude just loves amphibians. I mean, isn't that Isn't that something? But Peyton Tolley, I think the big thing that made everybody in the industry's ears kind of perk up here is obviously the Red Sox are on an incredible run right now. It looks like they're heading into the postseason. And there was a time where it didn't look like that was possible. And now they weren't as aggressive at the trade deadline as many people thought, but like the team that they have right now, it's moving well. Could Peyton Tolley be an option out of the bullpen for the Red Sox? And the big reason why people are asking that is because he has arguably the most effective fastball in all of minor league baseball. If you watch him pitch, he's 6'6", so he's pretty tall as it is. He gets down the mound exceptionally well. We're talking like close to 7.5 feet of
Seven
extension.
foot four was his average extension at TCU.
Yeah,
7 foot four.
and for folks who might not understand what that means exactly, I'm sure you can put two and two together. But if you are getting 7 feet 4 inches closer to the plate, that's shortening the decision window that the
Yeah.
batter has.
You're
So if
releasing the
he's
ball 53 feet from home plate instead of 60 feet 6 inches. And that, that shaves thousandths of a second off, but those thousandths of a second for a hitter are vital pieces mentally and physically to be able to determine, all right, am I going to swing at this or not?
Yeah, and that's why we always talk about velocity being important, right? Like velocity itself shaves a few thousandths of a second. Now all of a sudden the closeness to the plate shaves a few more. Batters just have not been able to touch his fastball all year long. And not only that, but he's added velocity as well. He's averaging around 95, touching 99 with that extension. And he's a left-hander. So like imagine going to that out of the bullpen. And that's the other thing about that clip too, right? Is that it shows he has a fiery side that would work really well out of a bullpen. A lot of people are kind of making the David Price comp. If you remember that from a long, long time ago, David Price coming out of the Rays bullpen in their postseason run shortly after pitching at Vanderbilt could totally do that. We'll see how it goes. It sounds like they're going to still work him as a starter. Basically, because you don't want to yank that cord too early. They still view him as a starter. But in doing our top 100 rank, like we had him going up pretty high, and there are a lot of people in the industry saying like you can move him higher. That fastball is going to play. Yes, the slider might just be average. The changeup might be just okay, but he can spot that fastball and he can just blow it past guys, and that's going to have value in the modern game. So that's a really exciting one at Worcester. That jump is going to be interesting. He's going to work with the major league ball. That's going to be a test in its own. He's going to work with the challenge system. That's going to be a test in its own. But all the pieces are there for Peyton Tolley to maybe see Fenway Park by the end of his first full year and join the likes of, Jack Caglione, Cam Smith, Chase Burns, a lot of these draft picks from last year that have already seen the major leagues.
All right, Sam, we've got one other guy to discuss who is a recent promotion, but more interestingly is just tearing the cover off the ball and putting himself in the conversation at the forefront of one of the most discussed systems in baseball right now. And I'm actually holding a home run ball of his, which is Spencer Jones of the New York Yankees. The big hulking Yankee slugger who we got to hang out with a little bit when we were in Somerset back in June. Since he made the climb to Scranton Wilkes-Barre at the AAA level has been ridiculous. His July numbers, he hit in 18 games at AAA, 419, 477, 946. He went 31 for 74 with 11 home runs and 6 doubles. He drove in 23. And he is, I mean, right now, living up to, I think, the best case scenario of what Yankees fans hoped for with Spencer Jones. There were some struggles early on. He was cold in April to a certain extent. He was still slugging the ball pretty well, but then got injured in May, a little bit quiet in June. But since he made that climb in late June and now through July and into August, his start to August has been somewhat cold, but Spencer Jones is really putting himself back in that very exciting conversation for the Yankees to the point that his name may have been bandied about in trade discussions, and the Yankees basically said he's a no-go.
Yeah, I'm not privy exactly to those conversations, but the fact that he is still somebody who is on course to start his major league career in pinstripes is pretty telling. The Yankees were pretty aggressive. Jim Callis can tell you that himself, as the guy who had to backfill a lot of Yankees prospects. But they didn't get rid of their big four right now, which is George Lombard Jr., Carlos Legrand, Cam Schlittler, and Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones, I mean, he's somebody who I pushed back against a lot in recent years because the power is undeniable. 6'7", like you said, and he's gone through a lot of swing changes over the years, trying to find something that's going to lock into place. He struck out 200 times last year at Double-A Somerset, and then repeated Somerset this year. So there's part of me that's like, that's not a good sign. And he's going to swing and miss a lot, even right now as we sit here on Thursday. His in zone contact rate is in the third percentile for AAA. But that being said, and this is something that is happening across the industry right now, the guy's slugging 759 at AAA.
759 at AAA.
His OPS last year was 788. So
That's insane.
if you watch him hit, it's funny, every once in a while his clips will go across the internet and there'll be somebody who's just like, that is not a swing, that should work. Because it looks like he's crouched over the plate. It's basically just like he raises his leg, puts it down, and lifts.
Somebody said he looks like an old man with a walker.
A little bit.
Yeah,
A little bit, but
it's a very unique stance and swing, but it works.
I've talked to him about it in the spring, and he said one thing he's always trying to do is get into the athleticism of his back leg. And I think that's what's going on here. It's just like, hey, man, you are really big, you are really strong, and he's pretty fast too, by the way. He can play a capable center field, which plays into his prospect stock. But if this is what you are good at, just lean into that. If you're going to swing and miss in the zone here and there, that's fine. But if you're going to hit 3 out of 10 balls at 100, I don't want to, like, somebody's going to look it up and be like, that's not what the stats say. But if you're going to hit a lot of balls really, really hard and your 90th percentile exit velocity is going to be in the 96th percentile, then just keep doing that, man. Like, what we're looking at here is potentially Joey Gallo, but what if Joey Gallo could play center field? And I would think we would have learned a little bit from Joey Gallo experience, but Joey Gallo wasn't playing center field. And Spencer Jones's in zone contact is getting slowly better over time. He is showing the correct trajectory, which is what you want here. And I think, when we're seeking out top 100 feedback, a lot of it was like, how can you not think of this guy as a top 100 guy? At a certain point, you're going to nitpick with everybody at the back of the list. But if this guy's extremes are that good, then at some point he needs to get on. So, you can probably guess where I'm going with this. I won't say anything in case this episode comes out before something else happens, but he's such a fascinating prospect. And I think we're going to be talking about him for a long time at the major league level in terms of how do you value a guy who is this extreme. We've looked at it from Jacob Wilson with the A's from the other direction.
Yeah.
Somebody who puts the ball and play a lot. Luis Ariz is the classic example, right? Somebody who puts the ball and play a lot, doesn't have much bat speed, but like is elite at the other end of the bar. Spencer Jones is the perfect foil for that. And how do we value that? We're probably about to find out the way he's hitting.
It's going to be interesting stuff to watch that climb continue in the Yankees organization for Spencer Jones. And anything else? I mean, this is, like we said, such a unique time. Everybody breathes that sigh of relief after the deadline is over. Even if you were traded, at least you don't have to worry about the stress of, all right, well, what's coming up next week for me? What else is on the docket for the final couple of months of the regular season?
Yeah, one I'll just throw out there real quick is, and I'm kind of fascinated just by, like, you want to look at statistical races, right? Like, I don't know how much people actually care of who leads the minor leagues and this stat or that stat. But when you look at this one guy in particular, I don't even know if you would call it the Triple Crown, the amount of pitching leaderboards he might be atop by the end of the year, but that's Jonah Tong of the New York Mets. He spent this year entirely at Double-A Binghamton to this point, 97 innings, but he leads all of full season qualifiers in ERA at 1.58, in strikeout percentage at 40.5, in strikeouts themselves at 154. Nobody else, by the way, has more than 127. So he's not quite lapping the field, but he's certainly put himself well ahead. He's at the top of the list in strikeout to minus walk percentage at 28.9%. He's first in average at 141. He's fourth in whip at 0.94. He's first in FIP, fielding independent pitching, at 1.74. I mean, you can't really have a better statistical year than Jonah Tong is having. And I would hope, we were talking earlier about promotions, right? And getting guys' feet wet and getting them the experience before the year is out. I would hope he would see Syracuse soon. Like he needs to start working with that major league ball. He needs to be working with the challenge system in a little different zone. I don't think he's going to be an option for the Mets this year. It's his age 22 season. But that fastball is really, really interesting, remains really, really interesting. Obviously, the delivery gets tons of comps to Tim Lincecum. The industry right now is trying to figure out how do you value that because he might not be quite as athletic as Tim Lincecum was. But it's another outlier. He's got a good changeup. He's got a really good curveball, and he's worked on the changeup to this point this year that it's been a workable pitch for him. It's something whenever I've heard him talk or I've talked to him. I've heard him say like the changeup is something that I'm trying to work on and trying to lock in. And I think this is the year that it's really become a potential out pitch for him. So we'll see how things go for Jonah Tong here. Like if he goes to Syracuse, this could threaten all these leaderboards, right? Like he might have some bumps. And I'm not saying that's a reason to hold him back. You should push the player, not chase stats. But there could come a time where we're looking at this and like, this is one of the most dominant pitching seasons we've seen from a minor league pitcher in a very, very long time.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss, a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Well, you can read all of Sam's good work, of course, at MLB.com/pipeline. You can follow along with the updated lists there as well. And coming up, we are going to join our 2 intrepid road reporters for the week as Ben Hill and Josh Jackson from Altoona, Pennsylvania, check in on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show.
I feel awful.
I do too, Josh.
Awfully good.
Awfully glad that awful night is over and we are now driving back from Altoona on Route 80 East, taking Josh Jackson to the Newark Airport, where he will fly in comfort and luxury back to Portland, Maine.
I didn't know about the comfort and luxury part, so that's good to know.
Oh no, I called the airline. I've got you set up.
Well, that's great. Last night was awful night in Altoona. It was comfortable. It was luxurious.
Comfortable and luxurious for the type of baseball fan who finds comfort and luxury in absurd minor league promotions. And this is a promotion that the Curve first did in 2003, then did through about 2009, then took a lot of years off in a new, I don't want to say regime, but a new generation of front office staff brought it back in 2021 for an appropriate rain out, and they've been doing it ever since with good weather, including last night.
So Ben, what the hell is awful night?
Awful night, yeah, first staged by the Curve in 2003. As I said, it is, I guess, what it sounds like, a subversion of the usual ballpark norms to make them as awful as possible. Clearly, they're still trying to have people have fun. It's a minor league ball game. It's not really built on self-sabotage, but it's just about finding ways to tweak the average way of doing things to make them quote-unquote awful. You know, misspellings on the video boards and on concourse signs, mascots and team employees in strange outfits, strange musical guests. We can get into Hot Dog Boy in a second. Between inning contests that are more awful than usual. And so from a personal level, 2007, I was still part-time writing for MILB, still figuring out my career. And the first ballpark I ever visited to cover a promotion live and in the ballpark was Awful Night in 2007. So it was great to be back 18 years later, that the team is still doing it, doing it once again, and I'm still doing it too. And this time, Josh, I was with you. We drove to Altoona, Pennsylvania, home of the AA affiliate of the Pirates, the Altoona Curve, and they play in People's Natural Gas Field, formerly Blair County Ballpark. Before we get into Awful Night, what was your impression of Altoona, Pennsylvania, and that ballpark?
I thought the ballpark is very fun. You can see it. I mean, I've seen it on, the MLB TV games, the roller coaster beyond the right field wall. It's like it cuts a memorable figure, that ballpark, for that reason. And it is like stately and very fun, and like mountain views. Throughout the trip across Pennsylvania, I've been enjoying some different mountain views, asking you some geographical trivia as we've been going. Not that, I don't know the answers to them.
Which I sometimes know the answer to, but not always. But, I grew up in Pennsylvania, went to college, and grew up outside Philly, went to college in Pittsburgh. So these roads are pretty familiar, and I like driving past the road signs and remembering a places I once was and once been. We're in the Pocono Mountain region right now.
It did, yeah. It did seem like, So is that part of Happy Valley?
Poconos are not part of Happy Valley.
No, Altoona.
Altoona, I don't think is technically part of Happy Valley. I think Happy Valley really has to be specifically the Penn State campus and the areas surrounding that. We're a bit farther away from Penn State to be that. It is Penn State country, certainly in terms of rooting interests. In terms of professional rooting interests, it's roughly the middle of the state, but I think it's more west, so it leans more Steelers and Pirates than, Phillies and Eagles and whatnot.
I found it, I asked because if it wasn't capital H, capital V, Happy Valley, it was like a happy little valley, Altoona, and the ballpark was sort of like a great minor league park for what would seem like a great minor league town. And you mentioned like small subversions, like things on the video board and employees wearing the weird clothing and stuff for Awful Night. That's like maybe one of the coolest things about it was, we should talk about Hot Dog Boy next. We're kind of burying the lead by not getting into Hot Dog Boy. Stay tuned, dear listeners, everybody out there in Radioland. You will get to hear about Hot Dog Boy in a minute. But there were like larger, very obvious things that they did as part of Awful Night. But then there was also just like, every game day employee, somebody would like turn their shirt on inside out and like, well, it's Awful Night, I have to do something bad. And then, instead of standard rally signs that some game day staff would show on top of the wave on top of the dugout when the Curve, who won, by the way, with a walk-off walk on Awful Nights, which seems just somehow appropriate. During that rally, the signs that the game day employees had on top of the dugouts just said clap in like clumsily written marker on a piece of paper, and like one of the employees was holding her sign upside down. It was just like finding as many possible ways to get things wrong in every way across the ballpark. So there was like it was like Easter eggy. There was like a lot to discover through the night that was really fun. But then let's circle back to dun 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 Hot Dog Boy, who was not something that you would have missed or wondered whether or not it was a part of Awful Night. This was not an Easter egg. It was a man on a pavilion down the left field line who, well, Ben, what can we possibly say about Hot Dog Boy?
Yeah, so, an Awful Night in general, it's like self-consciously awful. And then Hot Dog Boy, you didn't really know where he was coming from. He's a legit performer who had been in touch with the Curve before, and Mike Kessling is the main point person for Awful Night, their promotions and events director. And he said, Hot Dog Boy been wanting to play at the ballpark a while. He's not a boy, he's a man. He's a man probably in his 50s or 60s, bearded, wears a hot dog suit, and plays kind of like a keyboard or guitar and kind of distorted vocals. And it seemed kind of self-consciously awful, but it was hard to tell how seriously he was taking it. And I feel bad saying this guy's awful because he took his performance really seriously. but yet it was kind of awful. But he was even singing like "Welcome to Awful Night," like he was in on the joke. But then his next song was a somber number about the 80th anniversary of dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. It was really kind of hard to figure out where he was coming from, and I wanted to learn more. We wanted to learn more. So after he finished one of his songs, this is like a little before 5 o'clock, and the gates hadn't opened yet. And I said, "Hey, do you mind if we interview you real quick?" And he's like, "Not during my gig." Like, he took it really seriously. And then after the gig was over, the game had started, and we couldn't find Hot Dog Boy. And I really would have liked to get more of his perspective. I think he has some CDs out there. I'm the kind of weirdo who would be proud to own a Hot Dog Boy CD and actually listen to it. So stay tuned, and maybe, I don't know, we'll talk to Tyler. Maybe we can dig up some internet audio of Hot Dog Boy and play you a little snippet on this episode. But no promises. We're driving on Route 80 en route to the Newark airport, and we don't know what life is going to bring.
I don't know that I could make it through actually a Hot Dog Boy CD, an entire CD. I do agree. We must just give him this. He was a very memorable performer, and that seemed very much his mission, whether or not he was striving to be somebody that you might consider awful. He was certainly memorable. That was certainly something that must be said for him. He must be given that.
Yeah, nothing but love for Hot Dog Boy.
What else should we hit on? Should we hit on some of the other promos that happen or in-game contests?
Yeah, it was fairly top-loaded in the beginning of the day with some of the awful endeavors. Josh has been thoughtful enough to get out the game script, so we are not forgetting things. I actually took part in one of the contests. I think it was one of the first ones they did. It was Name That Tune, but with a team employee in a ridiculous costume playing the tunes on a kazoo. And let me tell you, I don't know if it's because he was an untalented kazooist or just because it's hard to recognize tunes on a kazoo, but I think I only got 1 of 3 right, and that was with multiple choice. I wouldn't have gotten any of them if it had just been like guessed straight out. One of them was My Heart Will Go On, which sounded like the Canadian national anthem, but since that wasn't one of the choices, I did guess My Heart Will Go On, and that turned out to be correct. So yeah, Name That Tune on a kazoo. There was also a sort of Name That Smell, where blindfolded contestants had things placed under their noses and had to guess what the smell was. It was a strong fish component. I think there was herrings as well as sardines and tomato. I can't remember some of the other things, but Name That Smell, that was a good one. What am I forgetting about right now, Josh?
Well, somebody did, I want to point out, in that one guessed cat food, and it sounded like cat food could have been an answer for could have been the answer for every Name That Smell
for the herring
thing. But yeah, it didn't seem like a contest you would want to participate in, but it was really funny. And you know, people really got into it. The fans really. This is the other thing, is that since the Curve have done this, not every year, but for a number of years and a number of times, like, there were fans who definitely knew coming in, like, yes, tonight is awful night. This is going to be great. It was not a new concept that had to be introduced to them, and that was kind of fun to see, and fun to see them enjoy, like, the many in between inning contests and games and other elements of the thing that they did. We probably won't run down every single thing they did, but like, a fun thing was, you know, on a normal night, the mascot might ride some sort of 4-wheeled motorized vehicle around the warning track and the dirt path along the ballpark, shooting T-shirts out of a T-shirt firearm into the stands. And in this one, Loco, the Curve's mascot, he fired the T-shirts into all the wrong parts of the stadium where there were no fans. Along the outfield, he was firing, and so nobody ended up with a T-shirt for the T-shirt toss / T-shirt gun bit. There was more games. What's in my pocket game? Obviously, very hard to guess what's in somebody's pocket. That one could have gotten dirty fast, I feel like, but it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think that one worked out well. And there was, first of all, this was a very quick game. It started 6:05, and then like the 7th inning, top of the 7th rolled around, and it was like 7:20, and so it was really going too fast for our purposes. I did take a quick break, met up with a designated eater, Pat Thompson. We got the Curve Burger, their beloved ballpark burgers. Nothing much to it, but they're just cooked well on the grill, and the famous concession item at People's Natural Gas field. Not people filled with natural gas, they might be after hitting the concessions. But Pat got a habanero burger, and he got some sort of like pickle vodka canned cocktail made by a local company in Altoona. Then on the left field side of the ballpark, got Rail Kings fries, and those are named after the Rail Kings, who the Curve play as every Thursday, who were an independent team who played in Altoona up until the arrival of the Curve in 1999. So, in a way, the Curve killed the Rail Kings, and now they are celebrating the Rail Kings. So,
Eating them in fry form.
yeah, and now eating them in fry form. But it is a tribute more than a desecration. It's just celebrating Altoona's baseball history. They've also been playing as the Crickets this season, a long ago team from that era, from Altoona, from the early 20th century. And I spent an inning on the air with John Moses, who's an Eastern League veteran. I was last on the air with him in Trenton a number of years ago. Great to see him and his partner Parker, and I'm forgetting Parker's last name, but great to spend a little bit of time with John and Parker in the broadcast booth as well. It was great that Josh was on the ground when I was doing Designated Eater, and a little bit on the radio to keep witnessing the awful, as well as our LCC live content coordinator getting photos and video. Sydney, can't remember her last name.
Sydney Koshak, I think. Koshak. I don't know if we heard the last name pronounced, but Sydney's great. Shout out to Sydney if Sydney's listening.
Listens every week. Yeah, all LCCs must listen to this podcast as part of the job description.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, but she was great. It made our night so much better, and we're going to have much better stuff to show you from the night. Thanks to Sydney. I guess one more thing I wanted to say, and you might have jumped over it. You might have said it quickly, is that the Curve, you got to have a Curve burger because the Curve specifically went out of their way to get you a gluten-free bun. Is that a first?
Not a first, but doesn't happen very often. I'd like to see more teams just offer on a daily basis gluten-free stuff. I think a lot of the time they do it in fits and starts, but then don't get enough orders, and the bread only keeps so long, and it might not have the same proportions for the stuff they're serving normally. It's a logistical issue, but me being a minor league baseball celebrity, they did give me a Curve burger on a gluten-free bun, and man, I gobbled that thing right up. It was good, and I liked that they had a fixing bar with both pickle chips and pickle spears, some onions. Went a little bit beyond the typical condiment selection, and I was happy to have a Curve burger at the ballpark. Go to a Curve game, have a Curve burger.
That's great advice for anybody, I think.
Except you.
Except me. It's great advice for most people. You can have you can go to literally go to a Curve game, have a proverbial burger if you want.
I thought you were calling it a pervert burger.
Don't have a pervert burger. I want to recommend you avoid the pervert burger at every ballpark where you're offered one. It would be an awful burger.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to sign off.
Yeah, I think so, but we'd be remiss if also this morning, we went to a great local diner in downtown Altoona. It was like Tom and Joe's, I believe, was the name, but if you like classic diners as part of your minor league road trip experience, hit that up. And we also visited the gravesite of the alleged worst baseball player of all time. We could kind of tie that into Awful Night, but John Gauknaur, Gochnaur. Mike Kessling told us how to pronounce his name multiple times, and we're doing his legacy a disservice. But we don't want to denigrate this guy's name, but he did play. He has the most at bats for any player who hit under 200 and did not hit a home run. He made 98 errors in one season. He was born in Altoona, died in Altoona, and you can visit his gravesite if you visit Altoona to get another little weird slice of baseball history. And rest in peace, John. And we're not making fun of you. We like that you did something that makes us remember you this many years later. I will be forgotten at that point in human history.
I won't.
Yeah, you won't. You have a legacy. I don't.
All right, this is Judge Jackson and Ben Hill saying goodbye from the road.
Bye.
Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? But with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers, a network of 130 million of them, in fact. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills, and Did I say job title? See how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Our thanks to, again, our intrepid road reporters, Benjamin Hill and Josh Jackson, for calling in from the road. That was decidedly not awful, I will say. Peek behind the curtain, having not heard the clip yet. But
we assume it was
I trust those guys. I trust those guys. I do not trust myself. And that's why I am starting this segment, because it's just going to annoy me and it's going to itch at me when I was listing the 2024 draft picks who have debuted in the major leagues this season. I mentioned Cam Smith. I mentioned Jack Caglione. I mentioned Chase Burns. I did not say Nick Kurtz. And I think that's because I just see Nick Kurtz as like a full-blown major.
Yeah, he's like a vet now. Like,
yeah.
The Nick Kurtz season has been so. Oh, you weren't drafted last year, like so he doesn't stand out that way.
The way you're doing
exactly.
this.
Like you're a 5-year big league veteran now.
A 4-homer game, like no,
you're insane. Yeah. Who gets your rookie of the year vote, by the way? Among the, I feel like the A's guys are gonna lock it up, either him or the contact machine Wilson.
I think
Jacob Wilson,
I think
Nick Kurtz. Who you got? Nick Kurtz?
I think it's Nick Kurtz. Okay. Carlos Narvaez is in with a shout with the Boston Red Sox. I think people sometimes forget he has rookie eligibility, and obviously we didn't talk about this because this is a minor league show, but like the recently extended Roman Anthony.
Yeah, Roman Anthony's making noise too.
He has been incredibly good of late, and he has a clause in his new extension that if he finishes first or second in rookie of the year voting, he gets a little extra money. I'm not saying like that's going to affect anything, but like there is a real incentive.
Nice little bonus. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that I don't think his agent would throw that in there at this stage if they didn't think like you get really hot in August and September and a little bit into October. It's a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, since it's only two of us, we will not do a name that dude, but I do want to remember a dude today, because it's getting to be WBSC time of the year for me. A couple of weeks, I am headed to Okinawa, Japan for the U18 Baseball World Cup, which is my favorite of our events as far as the World Cups go. The talent that we get at the U18 level is ridiculous, and this is not a U18 Baseball World Cup connection, but it is an international baseball connection. And the guy who I want to remember today is Francisco Cervelli. Former catcher for the New York Yankees, the Pittsburgh Pirates, spent 14 games with Atlanta back in 2019. Then he was with the Miami Marlins during the COVID season in 2020. But Francisco Cervelli, such an interesting dude, and he is currently managing Italy's U23 team playing in the European Championships. Francisco Cervelli, of course, born in Valencia, Venezuela, and made his major league debut with the Yankees back in 2008. He spent 7 years with the Yankees, 5 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Those are probably his best years. But thing I love about Francisco Cervelli, he's managing this Italian team and speaks fluent Italian. He's just like the cool Italian baseball guy right now. Mike Piazza obviously has managed their World Baseball Classic teams and is very integral in what's next for Italian baseball, but I just love listening. I don't understand 75% of what Francisco Cervelli says in his post-game interviews of the Euros, but the European Championships for U23s, but the Italian Baseball Federation posts them, and I just watch them because I like listening to Francisco Cervelli give his post-game comments in Italian. It's awesome.
I just imagine you calling up the Italian side of your family.
Yeah.
Which is large and proud.
What's he saying here?
Yeah. What's going on here?
I need to just send these to my mom and my aunt. Be like, can you give me a little breakdown of what Francisco Cervelli is saying here? Francisco Cervelli, somehow, by the way, never an all-star. But his 2015 season with the Pittsburgh Pirates, he was a 3.5 WAR player, 130 games, hit 295, 370, 401. That was actually a little bit lower OPS-wise than what he did the year prior, although in limited action with the Yankees in 2014. And then in 2018, put up an 809 OPS. He was such a good player, Francisco Cervelli.
Good catchers can go far.
Yeah.
Which is incredible when you think about it, because those guys are, I think, I don't want to say more prone to injury.
Yeah.
Because they are much more durable than other players. But there's more opportunities for injury.
Yeah.
One deflection and you're left pinky is gone.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to catch.
Yeah.
If you have a shoulder problem, it's very difficult to throw. And that we know how important that is these days.
Right.
So if you are a durable catcher like Francisco Cervelli, you're going to be in business for a good long while, as he was.
He also dealt with a bunch of concussions during his career, but Francisco Cervelli, just a dude. He was one of those dudes in late 2000s, early 2010s baseball. Always liked him. So that'll do it for this week's episode of the show. Before the show, of course, you can get in touch with us, podcast at milb.com. And that'll do it for Sam Dykstra, for the traveling Ben Hill and Josh Jackson. My name is Tyler Maughan, and we will catch you next week.